So when we talk about facilitating our PLC, and we really use that cog to guide our work, and we think about the questions 1 through 5 that are on the cog, and we think about question 1, what do we want our students to what do we want our students to learn? We really have to think about what do we want them to know, understand, and do. And so we have many resources, and many people have been working on really understanding what we want our students to know, understand, and do. And that work in your PLC, I think around that question 1 can be some of the most important work that you do as a grade level to really building that common language, really understanding what specific vocabulary, what specific understandings, big understandings students need to take away from this particular unit that you're working on. And then thinking again about the actual activities, like what are you going to have students do? What experiences are you going to create to be able to get them there? And then when we talk about question number 2, the common assessment piece, it can be a barrier at times, and so we have to learn how to work through that and use the DE, what resources that we have available to be able to allow for common assessments to look across grade levels to see how are we doing in some areas, what area can we improve on, did our instruction hit where it needed to hit to be able to, and did the assessment match our instruction? And then thinking about question number 3, we really want to think about what experiences that we're going to create for students to understand, to come to those understandings, to really be able to do those things that we need them to do, not just in class, but outside in their environment as well.
A couple of the resources that I found most useful in facilitating the PLC and also for doing the work that needed to be done outside of the PLC was Canvas. Lots of resources on there available, as well as the ability to set up various courses. But my favorite is Google Docs, Google Drive. This allows multiple people to work on the same document, allows information to be shared. I highly recommend that for doing your communication amongst the team.
Hello, so what you should do as a PLC facilitator is to make things easier and find resources, definitely contact district. They're always there willing to help. There's a lot of people that we've had come from district that have been able to talk to our teachers, give them advice, help them with planning. So that's definitely a place to go. They're always willing, they're always free, and they're looking for schools to come to. So contact them. Susan is one of the people that helped us, and she was amazing.
Suggestions I have for new PLC leaders is to always be positive, remain positive. Your attitude is definitely contagious, and you want that positive atmosphere in your PLC meetings. The other thing I would suggest is to be laser focused. When you come into your PLC meetings, you need to have a plan, a focus, know what you're going to get done and how you're going to get it done. The last thing is organization, however you organize your PLC team. As a facilitator, you can't do it all yourself. So you have to know the strengths of the team members so you can let them share on some of the responsibilities. But when you come to that meeting, your time is very valuable, their time is very valuable. Have everything you need so you can go straight into the work.
So every bit of collaboration deserves some celebration along the way. So in thinking about how our teams are moving from like a place of isolation and a place of working alone to a place of collaboration, we really have to celebrate those steps along the way when we see people taking risks or making steps in the right direction. And so maybe we don't move from A to Z, but we move from A to B, and so let's stop for just a moment and celebrate that just little movement from A to B. Taking little moments of time to celebrate small achievements across your grade level. Maybe it's with one team member, maybe it's with some group of students that you really have been problem solving around. Whatever it is, taking that small moment of time to celebrate that really can push your team forward in ways that you will be surprised about.
In forming a PLC group, that developing your norms is absolutely the right place to begin your work, because when you are bringing a lot of different individuals together, you're going to have different personalities, whether it be a group of 4 or a group of 10. You have to learn to work with one another and to complement each other and gain the benefit of collaborative work. And so I've heard there's 4 stages to developing a group, and that the initial stage is forming, and everyone's happy, it's a good place, and then you begin to have some storming. And so by beginning with your norms, you may be able to avoid a little bit of that storming, or at least be able to hurdle over it in a more productive way. Because the 3rd stage is where you have to go back and revisit and do some norming if you haven't already done it. So we want to prevent that deficit in the work by initiating at the norming stage. And then once you get over that, you begin to perform, and that's the final stage, is performing. So we want to use those norms as not only a way to begin the work, but as a life preserver for the work. And so that anytime you deviate from the right work, those norms can be what brings you back and refocuses you so that you can be productive and you can benefit from that collaboration.
So after being a PLC facilitator for 1 year, something you will find is that they will eventually start to lead the meeting themselves, which is a great thing. It's not necessarily a barrier, something that you're going to want to prevent. You're definitely going to want them to start taking more of leadership roles within the PLC. Doing that will definitely enable them to feel like they have more of a say in what's going on, not only in their classrooms, but in the classrooms of the team. So I think putting in input definitely empowers all of you to become closer as a collaborative team.
Well, there are a couple things that I would definitely think are most critical. The first is developing your norms as a team. Getting down those sort of rules that you all want to abide by, making sure everybody understands those rules, and kind of agreeing on them together so everybody has buy-in that they helped create the rules. And then the second item would be the roles of the group, making sure every team member has a role, and that sort of set them up so that the roles play to their strengths. If someone's really good at one thing, maybe assign them that role. It's sort of a way to have everyone doing what's best for them and making your team more successful.
Often at times we create our own assessment. However, I feel like the most helpful tool we had was using the Discovery Education probes. And knowing our students and knowing their needs, we often found ourselves looking for text complexity type questions that would best meet the needs of our students.
One of the things that we did to establish our norms is that we looked at our school-wide meetings for VES, and we looked at the norms for school-wide, the meetings that we have. And those norms were created by the district's visions, and then we created our own norms together as a group, and something that we all could agree with and something that we all followed, and we also aligned them with our school that happened similar.
Well, when we talk about what we want all students to know, it's really important that teachers understand the standards that they're unpacking and what that standard looks like in a progression of standards so that they have an understanding of their specific grade level expectation, what students need to know, understand, and do, as well as the grade level expectations from the grade before and the grade after, so they can take those students, build on their strengths, and help them progress to the grade level expectation and then prepare them for the next year.
Okay, so one of our biggest barriers I would feel would be time. And basically to overcome that would be to use your time wisely. Planning before school if you can, using the best of your time during your planning time during the day, and just being effective and intentional when you're planning. And the other barrier that I would see would be resources. I know that we had resources on the district site, but sometimes we need a little extra. And so being resourceful in people at your school or district personnel or searching online would help as well.
First, using Canvas, making the best use of the materials there with the district maps and the, having your standards. Also, Google Docs, using Google Docs so that the information is viewable by all and shared by all. Student scores, having formative and summative assessments available, bringing grade books, and having a heads up on what you're going to discuss so that you can have those ready for the meeting. And also any materials that you might need to pull from for planning. So if you have a heads up ahead of time, like some sort of itinerary on what we're going to talk about, then we can bring our materials and make the best use of that time.
Suggestions for new facilitators.
it's probably not going to be the easiest job guiding your peers to working for best practices and outcomes for students, but ultimately it is something you have to keep the faith in, that this process is so important as we collaboratively work toward learning outcomes for students. That part about just like when it's hard, find a friend to talk to, reach out to someone who can really offer you some support, because there's times where you might just want to pull out your hair, and that there's going to be the difficult folks on your team, but ultimately working together will be really great for our kids.
Okay, having been my team's PLC facilitator, the biggest thing I feel is first and foremost always be positive. You need to have an open mind because you have many minds coming together to work together, so having that open mind helps. Strong communication between the team members, feeling that it's a safe environment to speak your mind is also key. And of course being prepared, and being prepared meaning knowing your standards, knowing the students' data, and always keeping the students in mind.